Our next guest is singer, songwriter, and choir director, as well as producer, and he has the title, or unofficial title, being one of the most important men in gospel music.
And in his 2-decade-long career, he's collaborated with everyone from En Vogue to the legendary Clark sisters.
Yes.
My goodness. Here to talk about his hit new album and his life in the music industry is Donald Lawrence.
Hello.
Donald,
How
welcome
are you
to the
both?
show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
I can't wait to talk about En Vogue.
Oh, yeah.
And the Clark sisters.
Clark sisters,
okay,
yes.
but Gary has a question first.
Okay.
Go for
Well,
it, Gary.
you don't appear this way. It's certainly nobody could tell, but you've been in this now for 20 years.
20 years, 2 decades.
And your recent album's named 20-Year Celebration, Volume 1.
Volume 1, yeah.
Best for last.
Yeah.
Is this your best album?
I'm going to say it's my best album, but it's really good. It really, really is good. I love the music on it because it kind of chronicled the entire career plus new stuff, too. So I'm a songwriter at heart, and it's some good songs in there. And plus, I think the one thing about it is it allowed me to reconnect with my friends. Mm-hmm. So Kelly Price, Layla Hathaway, Karen Clark Sheard came through, Hezekiah Walker, Faith Evans, Coco from SWV. We just had a
Where'd you find her?
Right there in Virginia where she lives.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
she was cool. She came out and did something with me as well. So it was really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the album debuted at #1.
Yeah, it did.
And the gift is being well received. Are you surprised at the welcoming that fans are giving to the work?
Well, I think you never take it for granted, especially when you're here for like 20 years. You know, some people fade off, you know, and they don't make relevant music. But what I learned was not to become timeless. It's not so much as about a sound. It's just about being very, very relevant with what you say, the content of what you say. So I'm very, very much into lyrics and what we say, you know.
Now, you mentioned Yolanda Adams, Faith Evans, Layla Hathaway, Hezekiah Walker,
Yeah.
all of these people. What was it like to work with them all again? You worked with them before, obviously, so was it a big family reunion?
It was like a big reunion. You know, they really trust me in the studio. Actually, Hezekiah's record, which is the #1 song now, I produced that, and The Gift is actually #2, so we're like right behind each other. So it's really good to see your work out there like that. But most importantly, we're all friends, so when we come together and do music, it's just kind of, you know, like you're hanging out with your best buddy and just make it happen. It's really a blessing.
Now, I want to quote from one of the lyrics from the title track, because it resonated with me so much. It says, although you may think that your time has passed, God's only saving the best for last,
Yes.
your future greater than the past. First, sing it for me, please. Let me hear a little bit of that.
Let's see how that particular segment right there goes. And although you think your time has passed, God's only saving the best for last. Your future greater than your past.
Wow.
And that's, I tell everybody.
What inspired those lyrics?
Well, I think that, especially in the U.S., I think everybody thinks that life is great when you're young, and as you get older, it just fades away. But biblically, always speaks about your latter being your better years. So I wanted to remind everybody that life only gets better. And even when you think that time has faded away and you can't really accomplish your dream, God gave us faith to override time. So when faith overrides time, it takes time out of the equation. That means you can do anything, anytime, because time is not part of the equation anymore.
Donald, another central theme in the album is grace. Now, I know it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but what does it mean for you?
Well, in this particular album, I spoke about grace in a different way. Grace is your gift. Everybody's born with the gift. They're born with the grace, and the grace that you're born with is what I call a divine enablement, meaning that enablement, like what you guys do, you're divinely enabled to do what you do. It's your grace. And everybody has their own personal grace. God custom made it for us. And so when you understand what your grace is and you work in it, that's why when the scripture says your gift will make room for you and bring you before great men, it means your grace. When you work in your divine enablement, it kind of creates opportunities for you, and it allows you to do that. But a lot of times people tend to pay attention to other people's grace and not their own, and it doesn't work because everyone's grace is custom designed for them.
Why is that?
Well, I think that's how God knew what our paths were. I think we all have different reasons that we're here, and you have to honor the grace that's on you. You can't work in somebody else's grace. You'll spend your entire life trying to do something that'll never work, you know, if you're not graced to do it in that area.
But why do people tend to covet other people's graces and not celebrate their own?
You know what I think they look and always, it's like the whole thing, the grass is always greener. I think you look at that, but they forget about the assignment. You know, they just look and say, oh, that looks great, I want to do that. But if you're not graced to do that, it doesn't work. And when you go in and you try to do it and it doesn't work, you're frustrated. And really, you know, I tell everybody, honor where you are. The more you honor where you are, it opens doors for you and you get to where you're supposed to be.
When did you have your divine epiphany of what your grace was? Was it as a child growing up in Gastonia?
I think it was as a child, and I think the whole thing about that is it shows up. It shows up when you even not, like I never knew I would be a producer. It just showed up. It just one day it just woke up and I just started having this passion for it, you know. And I think it started as a child. I always tell everyone that I remember my aunt waking me up in the middle of the night. I grew up with my aunt, and she said, I had dreamed that you were going to be this amazing songwriter, and it was just going to really be the most unique songs, and the lyrics were just going to touch people. So anytime I hear a song, I think about me being about 14 years old and her waking me up and saying that. And she was right, you know.
And you taught yourself how to play the piano at 15?
How
does that happen? You just sit at an instrument and you just start banging away?
It just starts making sense. I can't explain. It just made sense. Like I said, I think when you're graced to do that, it just makes sense. There's this ability in you just waking, it's dormant, just wake up one day. And,
what about that instrument drew you, though? Why not the violin or the cello or the trumpet? Why the piano?
The cello wasn't my grace. It was the piano was calling me, and I just listened and went and messed around with it, and, you know, it made sense, and that's the way it went.
Now, you were also a vocal coach to many different groups, and one of them was In Vogue.
Yeah, In Vogue.
Now, what was that time like?
That was
I know
great.
you're a man of God, so...
You know what, see, I mean, I think that those of us who are faith-based or people of faith, I work everywhere. I worked with a lot of urban. My first job really in the business was I was Stephanie Mills' musical director. I was our music director for like 10 years. That was my first professional job. So I think there are a lot of us whose paths are not necessarily to be in the church. I think we're supposed to go and be a light outside of the church. So working with In Vogue was great. They actually saw me with Stephanie Mills, and they loved the background vocals, and they asked her who did them, and she told me. So I went and coached them. I got them ready for their Never Gonna Get It tour. And
you are kidding.
Yeah, no, I did. I whipped them in shape really hard.
Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it.
Oh yeah, they talk about it. They talk about it to this day.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
are you kidding?
Yeah, because I trained. I made them run in place in their heels and sing the songs.
Like Beyonce's dad.
I ran them in place for like about half an hour every day and made them sing the songs, because I come from the time where you really do sing and dance. You don't do stems.
No lip syncing.
No lip syncing. You do it, and people do this on Broadway every night. You can sing and dance and make it sound good. So I drilled them that way, and I drilled them hard. So Terry usually now, she always talks about how much of a slave driver I was, but it was good. It was really good. They were great. I think they're still one of the most phenomenal groups that has ever come, just from style and just everything. I loved working with them.
Yeah, they changed the game.
Yeah, they did.
Were there cat fights?
Not when I was working with them.
Did you use Jesus to moderate those cat fights?
No, I didn't really see. They were all very focused. They were very focused on what they fashion or what they were going for fashion. They were very focused on what they wanted to do vocally, just making the show great, and they were just really focused.
Do you think they'll reunite?
I don't know. I think that, you know what? Sometimes I think that when a particular season has changed, you should leave it alone. You know, because sometimes coming back doesn't help. It kind of messes things up. You know,
even if they came back and found a new connection, or actually became a different group.
Well, I think coming back is being friends and not necessarily putting the business in it. And you know, sometimes you just can't do that. You just have to just let it go.
What about the Tri-City Singers?
Tri-City Singers, yeah.
Will you all reunite?
We are reuniting.
Yes,
actually,
you retired in 2006.
Retired the group.
Okay.
We're just they're coming back to celebrate with me. So they did 2 songs on this record, but volume 2, they will be featured on that the whole entire record. So they're coming back to do that, not to stay together, but to reunite.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's your 6th season of hosting Verizon's House Sweet.
How Sweet the Sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what can we expect to see, and what's the talent like out there?
It was great. We were in Radio City Music Hall last night, and it was great. It was really great. New York brought out some great choirs, of course. You know, there's a lot of talent there. Yolanda was co-hosting with me, and we had Tamala Mann, we had Hezekiah, we had Donnie McClurkin, we had Vashawn Mitchell, and you know, New York brought their thing. It's really great to see.
Are we going to win this year?
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know. We got to see, because you know, I'm from Chicago, and Chicago is the choir city.
Really?
That's a choir
You think
city.
Chi-Town is going to take the Big Apple?
Oh, they'll take the Big Apple. Chi-Town take the Big Apple. When it comes to gospel, yeah.
That's bold. You know you're saying that in New York.
What you gotta realize, the gospel music kind of started in Chicago, so it's like the history of it, and it's a lifestyle there. I think it's more of a lifestyle there than it is in New York.
We'll have to
see.
like a friendly little
Yeah.
wager.
wager.
On
Little
that.
wager.
Little wager on that.
We'll tithe on
You'll
it.
have to come back.
Tithe on
We'll
it.
tithe on it.
Little
Right,
10%.
Little 10% on it. We'll tithe on it.
That works for me. So just quickly, what do you think is going to be the key for the next wave of gospel singers?
I think the next wave of gospel singers is, especially the time that we live in now, you really got to say something with the music. You got to really give people, and I don't really know that you shouldn't preach hard at them. You should really encourage them. So I really try to write lyrics that are empowering, that remind you who you are, and remind you that you're ever evolving into your best, the greatest yet to be. That's kind of what I call it. And I think that's the best way to do with people. I think that people come hurt enough, so they don't want to go somewhere for people to just beat them down and make them feel bad about themselves. They want you to lift them up. So if you do that, I think that's the next wave. I think that when it comes to gospel music, it's the only music that you can go to that can help you when you have a bad day at work or when there's something going weird in your marriage or your relationship. That those lyrics are very, very important. So I think that's what if they do that, they're good.
You're good.
Yeah, it makes you timeless.
It makes you timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to branch out into more TV,
film,
and Broadway.
Yeah, Broadway, that was my major actually. I studied a musical theater at the Cincinnati Conservatory. So I always planned on doing Broadway. I never planned on doing records or anything like that. It's just fell into it.
So are we going to see a gospel Broadway play soon?
Maybe. I mean, I studied Broadway in its entirety. So for me, if it's a good show, it doesn't necessarily have to be a gospel show. I just want to do great theater.
Okay.
Yeah, great theater.
Well, when you launch that play or musical,
Yeah.
come back. You
Okay.
promise?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Donald.
Thank you
so
for
much
having me.
being here.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
you did.
And you're watching Arise Entertainment 360.